49mm carbon clinchers in disc brake and rim brake. One of the widest yet lightest aero wheels you can get. Now, aero beats weight on the flats, but with these wheels you don't need to worry, because at 1350 grams it puts other climbing wheels to shame, meaning you can have the best of both worlds. You can have a great all-round aero wheel for any bike, plus you can be climbing on them as well. You're going to feel faster everywhere on these. I've seen them used in all types of racing. I've even seen these used on TT bikes overseas when there's big windy events like Kona. I've seen it crits, Gran Fondos, climbing. If you had 10 bikes, all different types, this is probably the wheel set that would fit them all. You'll never feel out of place with these wheels, and confidence equals fast, because when you're riding well and not thinking about your wheels or thinking about your bike, you're actually focusing on what you should be doing. As with all my other wheels, the high temp rim braking on this is amazing. It's as good, if not better, than your aluminium will be. And the wet, it doesn't hold water. So effectively the water sheets off here and can clear itself very quickly, versus if you have a weave or a textured surface, the water hides in the weave, especially a 3K weave or that cheap basalt brake surface weave they use to mask mid-temp and low-temp resins. Basalt is a volcanic form rock that effectively makes a thread, very high temp, but that's to shield the resin system. We don't need that on this because the resin system is so high, and that's what you want. And then you avoid that noisy squealing braking. And you also manage very well on the wet. The nipple patching on these rims, as you can see here, is a very important factor. Effectively, this is 3 times the thickness here of here. So it's thick just in this section, then thinned out all the way across, then thick, then thin, etc. the whole way around. It's the only safe way to lighten a wheel to the levels that these are. I've been doing it for many years now. Mountain bike companies do as well. Luckily, not too many road bike companies are doing it for some strange reason. The clincher hook itself is a filament wound clincher hook, and you can see how clean this is in here. I mean, there's just no imperfections. There's no big holes cut in the rim to remove any of the bladder or anything like that. The bladder is removed from a tiny little spoke assembly hole, as you can see there. When we get round to the serial number, you'll notice the discoloration of it. That is because of the super high temp curing of the rim. So effectively, you need to cure at 15 degrees above the TG you're trying to achieve. In other words, the glass transition point, or the my wheel won't melt point. And that starts to cook the logo itself and the resin. So you've got a super high temp, beautifully formed clincher hook there that's not going to fail on you. Now the hubs here, you can see it's a very nicely CNC'd hub. I hope that's in focus for you. Check some of the work across here. Now, this isn't a big oversized hub shell like you see with a lot of wheels. You don't need that. And this is actually a really important aerodynamic part of the wheel. You get a lot of wind disturbance through the spokes. And if you can avoid that through the hub as well, then you maintain a lot more clean flow and less separation and less angry air causing drag. These spokes are super thin and elliptical bladed, so they're not chopping up the air like egg beaters and big thick spokes. The hub itself won't deflect through, it won't bend through the hub shell here. All deflection comes through the end caps and the axles. So I spend a lot of time and effort making sure this aggressive thread fits perfectly into the axle, so there's no chance of it deflecting after a while, and it's an oversized axle inside. I never use something like a slide-on end cap, where after 3,000 Ks that slide-on end cap starts to move, and the weeniest bit of movement here equates and magnifies to a very large movement here, which these avoid. Now I'll specifically show you some detail on the rear disc brake hub. The reason for that, I get asked a lot of questions about the through axle system. Now, through axles luckily are all uniform after about 2016, even before that 2015, with a 12mm front and rear through axle. The width is 142 in the rear and 100 in the front. So in other words, there's 12 times 142 through axle in the rear, 12 times 100 in the front. So unless you have an older bike, 2015 below, you may have quick releases, you may have a 15mm front through axle and a 12mm rear, which is pretty rare. But if you do that, the Caden range has all those adapters, so you have zero problem. Contact me and we'll make sure it's fitting and exactly what you need. We have every single adapter type there is. and that way you're not going to have an issue with your wheel when you get them and not fitting. It's a center lock rotor as well, which is the best and easiest type of center lock rotor attachment system. There are 6-bolt ones as well. None of the new road bikes are really using them. They're all moved over to center lock. Now I'm going to pull up a diagram of the rim profile with exact measurements so you can see what's going on with the width, the internals, externals, depth. Now that's just one part of, I suppose, the design process, is getting that rim profile right. The offset drilling in these is really critical too, to make sure the line of the spoke and the nipple is kept straight to the flange, and there's no bending of the final thread on the spoke itself, which is one of the weakest points. So we keep that all straight, and that rim profile has another diagram off it for the drill rig, which is all matched up. Okay, now we're going to do a live weighing of the wheels. The industry standard for weighing wheels is no rim tape, no skewers, no bullet balancers, no cassette caps, no rotors, no nothing, effectively just the wheel. So that's how we'll be showing you the exact weights, comparably with how everyone else does it. The only difference being, I'm doing this live here to highlight the difference between claimed weights and real weights. A lot of wheels I weigh are anywhere from 50 to 150 grams over their claimed weights. 49mm Decadence carbon clinchers, 1409 minus the 40 grams for the rim tape and 10 grams for each of these, so 60 grams off in total, brings it pretty much bang on to the 1350 on the website. We keep stock of these weights to keep consistency. So when we're checking these, we go through all the wheels, build process, etc., QC, so make sure they're consistent. Decadence 49mm disc brake clinchers. Now these are coming in at 1427.8 with the 40 mils of rim tape and 20 grams of bullet balance. So these are well under the website weight variation from the rim brake, which is supposed to be 60 grams more, but we've got them down. The specific layups and low temp resin system help keep the rim weight lower to counteract the larger hubs and more spokes. Caden 49mm clinchers, 1559 minus the rim tape, 40 grams. There's no bullet balance in the Caden wheel, 1520. Still very light. That's totally comparable with any of the big brands, even their claimed weights out there. So you're not losing out with Caden. They're still a light wheel. Same resin system. This looks exactly the same from the outside. Same carbon, same mold. The only difference is no nipple patching, and the hubs are a 6066. 99% of wheels are the same thickness the whole way around here. So Caden's not losing out, just a different option for you. Tyre sizes. I get asked a lot of questions on this. And the good thing about our wheels is you'll be able to get tyres on and off very easily. I do the inner and outer diameters myself when I was creating the molds to make sure you're not going to be breaking levers or holding the boys up while they're waiting for you to fix a puncture. I've been commented, or multiple clients have commented to me how great they are to get tyres on and off. These will fit any 700C tyre. So whether you've got 21mm, 23mm, 25, 28, 30, etc., etc., you can even fit a 29 mountain bike tyre on this wheel with no problem, because a 29 mountain bike tyre is the same inner diameter as a 700C road wheel. You're not going to do that. Just giving you an example of how simple it is. Whatever tyre you want to use, go ahead and use it. Me personally, I run a 25mm rear and a 23mm front. The reason I do that is because a 25mm rear in most clinchers is actually a lot bigger. This is just a weeny bit over 28mm, and the front 23 is a weeny bit over 26mm. So that's more than enough tyre for me. I'm 95 kg and 2 meters tall, and that's what I'm running. I see some really big oversized tyres out there, and when you get to too big a tyre, it will bulge. This here is not bulging, so that's a very big tyre, and you'll see here how beautiful that sits within the profile. It's nice and aero, so what you've got on the leading edge, you've got the air flowing around seamlessly. There's no big bulge and lump, and the interface is clean. That's the critical factor in keeping a wheel aero, is matching it to the tyre. Then on the rear half of the wheel, you've got the wind flowing over here, not separating, not getting angry, and not bulging and flying off. I've said it many times before, if you looked at your plane wing and there was a massive bulge hanging out the end of the plane wing, that thing ain't flying anywhere. Same as using a big 30mm or a 28mm tyre. If you're going to use them, yes, use it on your rear, but you don't need it on your front. The rear wheel's the one that cops all the beating. So best advantage all round, I think, is a 23 front, 25 rear, or if you've got really shitty roads or you're off-road, a 25, 28 or 25, 27 is still really cool. Okay, valve stem lengths and write this down please, because you'll need to know what valve stems to order. So the 25mm Clincher, get the smallest valve stem length available. I've seen 38s and 40s. If you can only find 48, that's fine. I mean, you can put an 80 on the thing, but it's not gonna balance to the bullet head, especially in the larger sizes. Each size, should I say, as the valve gets longer, has a heavier bullet head to compensate it and to keep the flywheel effect of the wheel and stop death wobbles. So for the 38mm, you need a 48mm or 50mm valve stem length. They're the two sizes that are generally available for the 38mm Clincher. For the 49mm Clincher, you need a 60mm valve stem length. For the 59mm, you need an 80mm valve stem length. And for the 81mm, you need an 80mm or a 60mm valve stem length. And I'll send you two different extenders, so you have a choice for a couple of different options. They're free. That's the only wheel extenders come from besides the tubbies. So the Clinchers, you don't need extenders, which is great. You want to avoid them if you can. But I've got a custom extender for the 81, which is really good. The other thing with my wheel is, because it's a filament wound Clincher hook, it's super smooth inside the Clincher hook itself. There's no rough, coarse material like you get on a mold butt form rim, where you get variation and voids and sharp pieces inside. A very large company at the moment is not allowing lightweight race tires with thin sidewalls, because effectively, they haven't stated this, but this is why it's happening. The Clincher hook is scissoring in to the light sidewall and then blowing out the sidewall after a few hundred Ks. You can literally lick the inside of my Clincher hook. I've shown clients this because it's so smooth, and you won't have any scissoring of the sidewall, so you can run beautiful lightweight race tires without having the fear of any failures on the side. I personally run just lightweight butyl tubes. If you want to run, you can run any tube you want, obviously. Latex is good, but not much better than butyl, and it's expensive and it's a bit more fragile, and you need to keep pumping it up. So a nice set of light race tires with a lightweight butyl tube will just roll superbly. So these are the bullets that I hand weld. You can see they're all beautifully rounded on the back there, so there's no chance of any issues because they sit up under the rim tape. They have a little sticker on the back of them, then the rim tape as well. And so there's no chance of any issues with your tube or any problems on the back of them. That stops there. The reason I use bullets is they're the perfect size to fit in here, and they're separate weights, and it's cool as hell to have bullets in your wheel making you go quicker. So that's the 38, that's the 49, that's the 59, that's the 81. And I got a little tickler pistol bullet head for the 81s, depending if they need a little bit more balance or not, just to keep them really special, because the 81s you want super balanced for TT to keep that flywheel and speed effect going. Now, a lot of new drive systems, group sets, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe even 13 speed, etc. Are always changing, and we are on top of that and will always make drivers to fit every wheel. Caden or Decadence has every single driver type there is. I get asked this question a lot. You will not be superseded. We're not in the game of making things like a lot of other wheel companies have done in the past, where you can't swap out to the new standard. That was from, say, 10 speed to 11 speed. You had to buy a whole new wheel. They didn't make a component to crossover. We will not be superseding for sales. We will be making sure that all current and existing models are available with any new drivers. Probably the newest one to come out will be the Shimano spline system. That will probably end up being a 12 speed. Touch wood, there's not too much talk of more 13 speed. We don't need an extra gear for marketing. We just hopefully will stick with this, but if there is 13, we'll do that as well. Now, I hope you can see this. The reason I'm showing you this rim profile cut with some rim tape in it is because I worked really hard to avoid ghost punctures. Effectively, if rim tape is too narrow, it can slide in the rim, exposing one of the assembly holes, and then the tube can creep into it and explode internally. People will think they're getting punctures all the time. I had a guy come in just last week about this, and then I blew up one of the tubes that he'd just punctured on, and I saw that the puncture was on the inside of the tube, not the outside, and that let me know straight away he was getting an internal puncture from bad rim tape. So this does two things. The rim tape is nice and wide, it can't slop around in the rim and expose a hole. It also stops the tube from creeping under the tire bead. I meaningfully make my clincher hooks. I designed this whole hook system myself because I've seen lots of other wheels where the tire bead sits proud and high in here and there's a gap under it, and then the tube creeps under the tire. So when you hit a pothole, it pushes down on the tire and the tube's sitting underneath it. Hey presto, snake bite. With my tires, with my rim clincher hook, should I say, you can't get the tube underneath the tire bead. Tire bead sits snug up here, and then the rim tape, so it's a nice soft area for the tube to be sitting on. Avoid ghost punctures, avoid snake bites. As far as disc brakes go on road bikes, they've got very small, what I think is underpowered disc brake systems, and they can generate a lot of heat, especially for a big guy like me. So I'm developing my own disc brake rotor that has a floating system, not a fixed system like this. Currently all road bike rotors are fixed system. I was speaking with Glenn Alton, 3-time Superbike champ, and I used to do some motorbike racing as well. All their rotors have a floating system, so the expansion joint can happen in between here, 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 and here, and it keeps the rotors from getting heat warp and chatter and noise, etc., etc. So I'll have that coming out very soon, as well as some heat dissipating brake pads with larger cooling fins on them. So watch out, it'll be cool. All Caden wheels have a weight limit to at least 110 kg and are tested well above that by myself and machine testing. The reason for that is this beautiful filament wound clincher hook here, which holds the structure perfectly with no voids or air bubbles, and 100% bonding in one piece the whole way around the rim. The second part of that is the nipple patching. You can see how thick this bit is here. This is not one of my rims. I'm just showing this as an example so you can see it. Very thin nipple bed here. It's almost as thin as mine where it is in between the spans, let alone where this beautiful chunky bit where it needs to be, the nipple going through the rim. Also zero voids. Hopefully you can see this on the focus here, but there's voids around here and in here. This is where you don't want them, right on the braking surface, which is where all the heat happens, and you will get delamination failure on that point, which you will not get with the Cadens. All the UCI test is an impact test from a certain height, going around the wheel, hitting it in multiple points. Once you've achieved that, you pass the UCI test. We keep going times 10, 15 before we have any yielding, let alone a small crack, no structural catastrophic failures. If you fail the test, if a piece falls out of the wheel effectively, or you have a crack, a massive crack in the wheel, we've never done that. So passing all the tests, and yeah, there's no loss in getting a Caden wheel comparably to a Decadence. It's just the cost of manufacturing difference in between the two is 150 for each wheel, or 100 if you're in the US, or 100 if you are in Euro. So how do Caden compare? Well, I've got a couple of competitors around my range. You've probably had a good look at them if you're online. And the easiest way to answer that question is to just check the specs for yourself. Almost every time they'll be narrower, a lot heavier. One of my main competitors generally is about 200 plus grams heavier than my wheels. They won't have nipple patching. They won't have the bullet balancers. They won't have 3D forged 7075 hubs. And they won't have the lemon next to the pie, and that is we do pay for import duty into countries. So we do delivery duty paid, because usually if you order a set of wheels and they arrive, you can pay anywhere from sort of $200, $300, $400 on top of it to get it cleared by customs. So when you look at the type of wheels we're making, I mean, this thing is an absolute weapon, just about to be released, and the TT disc as well. The tubular version of the TT disc is 810 grams. The tubeless version of the TT disc is only 860 grams. And these are weighing in at about 850 for the tubeless version and about 700 for the tubular. So yeah, I don't see companies in my price range making wheels like this. We are an end-to-end wheel company with top-end race products that are affordable, service, 3-year warranty. I think the choice is pretty easy, guys. Enjoy.